Good morning from the other end. Let's talk about relationships and how communication is our number one boundary and barrier that unconsciously or maybe even consciously we create within ourselves, and which disadvantages us to be able to understand the person in front of us, whether it's our spouse, a family member, a child, or anyone for that matter that we associate with in our day-to-day life. And the reason why I want to bring this up, because I've noticed repetitively on a consistent basis with not just my clientele but even with family members, and sometimes I fall into in the same trap, is that we do tend as human beings, because our brain, just the way we've been wired, is to live in survival. We tend to fall into the trap of misunderstanding because we take things personally. Now, if we could just remove taking things personally for a moment and reassess and reanalyze the feedback that we're receiving from the party at hand, whether it's our spouse or our child or a family member or parent or whoever it is. I mean, once we remove the element of misunderstanding and holding things to heart and taking them personal, we could actually see the perception of the party in front and at hand, and what happens automatically, it diffuses and breaks down the boundaries and the walls that we've created consciously or unconsciously growing up as what we think is normal in communication. Now, when we can adhere to that and reassess ourselves, our words, our connection, and why is the party in front of us reacting in a certain way, or maybe not even acting in any way, they're very withdrawn or very numb to our words. And I suppose when we could just sit, I'm not going to say a mile in their shoes, but really sit to understand, to reflect on their characteristics. If you've known them for so long, what triggers them? You see, when you do that and you accustom yourself around trying to understand people, the problem isn't about you anymore. And then when you remove yourself from that understanding of it's not about me and it's not me taking it personally, it's about them and what's going on with them, automatically, you cannot hold a grudge. You cannot possibly take things with you every day and ruminate over the thoughts or of the words that happen or perceived, or the lack of words and understanding. It's more now holding a component of compassion. And that's what we need. See, if we could utilize the component of compassion and we drop the misunderstandings, holding things personal, and raising the standards of there's this word I'm looking for, and I don't know why this particular word I lose very often, expectations. When we bring the expectations down, it's no longer about us, it's about them. Now, when it's about them, it's not a problem on us anymore. So if anything, the compassion comes out to play, and when compassion is there, we're able to give and take with that human being and to understand their perception or their model of the world, and we bring down those boundaries, we bring down those walls that we've built consciously or unconsciously over time. Now, if we can do that and accustomed to doing that on our day-to-day basis, you'll notice that you will find you attract many more people around you in life, and you will have a beautiful social dynamic, and you will have a lot more people where you can socialize with, because you're no longer withdrawn. You're no longer held back from your own self and your own identity, because it's no longer about you. It's about serving that human being at hand, serving to understand what's going on in their world. Now, when you could do this, not only do you hold compassion, gratitude and grace overrides you. What happens in that sense? You become centered, and your body is able to live in the flow of life. Now, when you can live in the flow of life, you'll find things just rolling for you a lot. And I mean a lot more easier than when it is when you're rigid, holding those boundaries, not realizing these walls that you created consciously or unconsciously has actually geared away good people as well. Not just the evil or the bad, or sheltered you from the things that you don't want in society. Because we don't realize that when we put up these walls and our ego or our pessimism or our lack of understanding and our passiveness or lack of communication comes up, we actually are moving away a lot more people than we realize. So, piece of advice, bring down the walls. Yes, I know it's scary. Yes, there is fear waiting on the other side. However, challenge that. Analyze your thoughts. Analyze, where is this coming from? Maybe there is some inner work that you need to work on. Maybe you need to come and see me, or see another therapist, or you need to see a psychologist or a counselor, or maybe you need to do constellation therapy to understand maybe this is generational trauma that you need to work on. Maybe it's just something you've inhibited over the years and course of your life from your parents, and you've taken on board their psychological psyche of how to be and react and maybe not react. Maybe it's not even you. Maybe if it's a character, seriously, you're carrying that doesn't belong to you. So bring down the walls, analyze, assess, think before you react, before you create that boundary, and really sit with yourself and see, where is this coming from? Note it down. Now, when you take the opportunity to analyze things, you're giving way to be more open and susceptible to understand and hold that compassion and be able to hold that room with that person being in front of you, and you're able to give and take in that communication. Give it a go. I'll say them again. Bring down the boundaries and walls that you've built consciously or unconsciously over the years to protect yourself from being hurt again. Bring them down. Bring them down. And if you realize you're being triggered, maybe you need to work on it. Maybe there is a conditioning you've been accustomed to all your life from childhood, or maybe from adulthood or from school. Who knows? Okay, it needs to be worked on. Note that down. Write it in a book. Write it in a notepad. Secondly, after you bring down the walls, hold compassion for the person in front of you. Try to understand what's really going on. Really understand them. And when you can do that, you'll find the answers. Thirdly, when you find you are able to accustom yourself to let go of your own perception for a moment or two and bring down the walls to hold compassion for someone else, it's no longer about you. Don't hold it personal. Take it to heart. Don't be offended. More so, think about it in a sense where it's not about me, it's about them. Now, when you could do all those three, the fourth pretty much closes all three together. It brings down all the walls, is because you're contributing to society and serving others through understanding. Now, when you could do that, your own boundaries fall down and they collapse. And then when they collapse, you have a different sense of understanding the way you perceive your own life and being, because it's no longer about you. And when you can collapse all of those senses and those beliefs and remove yourself from the misunderstanding and misconception and taking things personal and holding a grudge, that's when grace will override you. When grace overrides you, you're realigned. When you're realigned, you live in the flow of life. And that's what we all want, don't we? At the end of the day, we are born and we are dependent and codependent on the first person that is in front of us, whether it's our parent or our guardian that's raised us. And then we think that we hold this codependency consciously or unconsciously, once again, in society moving forward, as though to some degree, maybe, the world owes us something, or for others, consciously or unconsciously, you're not aware of it, the world doesn't owe you anything, but you feel like as though you've been misused or misunderstood over time through your language, not realizing you've perceived so much growing up as a sponge, and you're utilizing the same techniques, the same form, the same understanding, the same beliefs of your previous upbringing, and you're putting it at hand and then attracting the same things. So bring down the boundary wall. Face the fears. If you feel like you cannot handle it and it's bringing up any torment or anxiety or any form of triggers, see a therapist. Second, hold compassion. Understand the needs of the person in front of you. It's not about you, it's about them. That removes any boundaries, any lack of understanding. It removes taking it personal and holding a grudge. Thirdly, with the grace of God, really